Have you ever wondered what really predicts success? It's not just about being smart or talented. It's something else, something deeper. Today, we're talking all about grit, this incredible mix of passion and perseverance that might just change the way you look at every single challenge you face. So let's just dive right in with the big question. When you look at somebody who is just crushing it at the top of their field, what do you think is the reason? Do you think it's because they were just born with some natural gift? Or is it something else? Just pure, hard, relentless effort?
I mean, think about it. Our culture is completely obsessed with the idea of the natural. You know, the musical prodigy, the overnight success story, the person who just seems to have it all without trying. We love those stories, probably because they feel a little bit like magic.
But what if that whole narrative that we tell ourselves is basically a myth? What if focusing so much on talent is actually the thing holding us back from reaching our own potential? Well, that's exactly what the researcher Angela Duckworth wanted to find out. Okay, so let's start by tearing apart this myth of talent. Why do we love it so much? Well, probably because it's a simple, convenient story. But it hides a much deeper, much more powerful truth about what success really requires. Seriously, think about it. You see an Olympic champion and your brain immediately goes, wow, they are so gifted. It's so much easier to call them superhuman than to imagine the brutal reality of their lives, the 5 a.m. wake-up calls, the strict diets, the thousands upon thousands of hours of practice. When we just call it talent, it kind of lets us off the hook, doesn't it? And this brings us to the absolute core of this whole idea. It's a concept that is so simple but so revolutionary, it completely flips the script on success. And it's this: effort doesn't just count once, it counts twice. So first, let's get our definition straight, because this is really important. Talent is your starting point. It's your natural ability, how quickly you pick something up. But skill is what you can actually do. You might have a talent for music, but skill is what allows you to actually play the guitar beautifully. And that only comes from putting in the effort. And this all leads to Duckworth's incredibly powerful formula. Effort is the great multiplier. First, effort takes your raw talent and turns it into an actual skill. But then, and this is the most important part, you have to apply more effort to that skill to get a real achievement. Effort is the engine, and it runs twice. And listen, this isn't just some abstract idea. It plays out in the real world. A recent study showed that about 2/3 of U.S. employers say they'd rather hire for grit and determination than for raw talent. Why? Because they know what actually gets results day in and day out. If you want a perfect real-world example, look at the author John Irving. This guy was anything but a natural. He got a C- in English class and even had to repeat a grade. Later, he found out he had dyslexia. He could have just quit right there. But instead, he decided to just work twice as hard as everybody else. We're talking about writing over 10 drafts of his books, and the result? He won the National Book Award. That is the power of pure grit. Okay, so it's obvious that grit is a huge deal. But what is it really? Because it's way more than just working hard. It's actually a combination of 4 very specific psychological qualities. And the best part is, anyone can learn how to develop them. So at its heart, grit is this special, super-powered kind of perseverance. It's about being able to stick with your passion through the tough times, through the pain, through all the frustration. It's when you have a goal that is so meaningful to you that quitting isn't even on the menu. It's just not an option. So Duckworth breaks it down into 4 key ingredients. It all starts with interest. You have to actually be passionate and fascinated by what you're doing. Next comes practice. This is the discipline of showing up every single day to get just a little bit better. Third, there's purpose, that feeling that your work is connected to something bigger than just yourself. And finally, there's hope, the belief that what you're doing today can actually create a better tomorrow, even when things feel impossible. And that first one, interest or passion, it's absolutely non-negotiable. Without it, grit is basically impossible to maintain. But look at this crazy data from Gallup. Only 13% of workers actually feel engaged by their jobs. That means a whopping 87% of people are basically just going through the motions. We have a massive passion deficit, and that's a huge barrier to grit. To really get what purpose looks like in action, just think about the legendary baseball pitcher Tom Seaver. His highest level goal was to be one of the best pitchers of all time. Period. And every single small decision he made, from avoiding a sunburn on his pitching arm to his daily workout routine, was guided by that one single goal. He lived and breathed his purpose, and it's what fueled his grit for an incredible 20-year career.
So now for the most important question, right? Can you actually grow your own grit? And the answer is a resounding yes, absolutely. So let's get into a few really practical ways you can start doing it.
One of my favorite strategies is called the hard thing rule. The idea is brilliantly simple. You commit 100% to a challenging activity for a set amount of time, like a season or a school year. And here's the rule. You cannot quit just because you have a bad day or it gets tough. You have to see it through to the end. It's like going to the gym for your perseverance muscle.
But remember, just putting in hours isn't enough. Your effort has to be smart. This is what we call intelligent practice. It means you set super specific, precise goals. You're constantly looking for feedback, and then you actually reflect on that feedback and refine what you're doing. It's the total opposite of just mindlessly going through the motions on autopilot.
And finally, you can grow your grit from the outside in. Just think about it for a second. Culture is contagious. When you surround yourself with people who are gritty, who work hard, who persevere, their standards and their habits start to become your standards and habits. The people around you really do shape who you become. All right, let's zoom out for a second. It's really important to look at the bigger picture here, including how different cultures view grit, and also some of the really valid criticisms of the whole idea.
Yeah, this whole concept is definitely not just an American thing. In Finland, they have a word, sisu, which is basically their version of grit. And what's so fascinating is that a study found that 83% of Finns believe sisu is a skill you can learn, not something you're just born with. It's literally part of their national identity.
Now, it is important to be balanced here, and the theory of grit does have its critics. Some argue that the definition is a little too broad and fuzzy, and others make the very important point that the theory might not fully factor in things like socioeconomic advantages, access to great schools, financial security, things that can give some people a massive head start in life. So in the end, the point of all this isn't to say that talent is meaningless. Of course it helps. It's just not the whole story. So the conversation shouldn't be, do I have enough talent? The real question, the one we should all be asking ourselves, is right here. What goal matters so much to you that it will spark and sustain your grit? What for you is truly worth the effort?